Today we're going over hooking up a toting vehicle to a towing vehicle. The first step to that is inspecting your equipment and making sure there's no excessive wear, signs of shock loading. The components are all operative, like these levers here that allow the arms to telescope in and out. They should be locked out for travel and stay locked out. And they should also move freely when you're ready to disconnect. The next thing to check is the actual attachment points and the pins that coincide with that. You should have a locking snap ring and a pin that doesn't appear worn or bent in any capacity. If any of these parts are not up to code, we should be replacing them immediately. The blocks that actually attach to the truck have directional arrows on them telling you to point which way they're supposed to be oriented. If you notice these blocks are worn or the pins seem loose as they enter the block, we should be replacing those components immediately. Next, we're going to go over the safety cables. They're going to attach our towing vehicle to our toting vehicle. It's important that these snap hooks are in working order and closed properly, securing them to the truck and not making sure they don't fall off a attachment point. These appear to all be in good working order. We're going to go to the wire harness next. Look for signs of wear, any signs of abrasion, exposed wires, etc. Next, we're going to start hooking up the toting bar. So I usually set it on the pintle of the towing truck and then extend the block out to the toting vehicle. I'll put this first safety pin in and then move over to the other side and continue the same process, ensuring that the arrow showing the correct orientation of the block is in the correct position. Once these pins are in, we'll go ahead and put our safety snap pins in place to make sure that these pins don't fall out, both passenger side and driver's side. From there, we noticed that the safety cables would not fit on the stock D-rings of the truck, and so we're going to use a shackle to change the diameter and allow us to hook up our safety cables. The biggest thing to pay attention to with these safety cables is to make sure that the orientation of the hook, the open end of the hook, goes away from our snap safety pins on the block pin. This will ensure that there's no interference as the vehicle is going down the road and that the end of the hook can't grab that safety snap pin and disengage it, causing a failure. From there, we're going to move to our electrical connection. There should be a plug on the front of the toting vehicle, and it's going to plug into the 6-pin trailer plug on the towing vehicle. Lastly, we'll hook up this emergency breakaway cable. It's important that this cable is hooked up independently from your safety cables and also independently from the hitch. Don't forget to put the safety pin in the hitch itself and ensure that it's properly closed and secured. This truck won't allow a direct connection for that emergency breakaway, so I'm just going to loop it through and make sure that it's tight and can't come loose. From there, we're going to go into the vehicle and put the transfer case into neutral. It's important to make sure that you know the correct procedure for the vehicle you're driving. For this GMC, it has a floor shifter. We're going to put the vehicle into neutral, then put the transfer case into neutral, and then return the vehicle into park. Once that's completed, we'll shut the truck off and turn the key just to the accessory switch so that the steering wheel can move freely. From there, we're going to hook up our brake buddy system. It has a few different components that should be inspected and make sure they're in working order. The brake buddy is going to connect to the brake pedal with a clamp. You want to make sure that that clamp is calibrated correctly and that everything's tight. We're going to connect the electrical connection. Same thing there, making sure that everything's tight. And then an important thing with this brake buddy is that you want to make sure that it can't interfere with the seat lever. When the brake buddy actuates, there's a potential that it could push on that seat lever, causing the seat to move back. From here, we're going to run through the test cycle on the brake buddy. It's going to cycle several times with our remote on. The remote will go in the towing vehicle and is a sensor that operates that brake buddy in the event of a harsh braking incident. Another thing to pay attention to with the brake buddy is to ensure that it's not putting positive brake pressure on when there's no brake being applied in the towing vehicle. So you kind of want it to be in a static state. One way you can double check that is verifying your brake lights are not on the towing vehicle itself, and we can clearly see they're off. So we know there's no brake pressure being applied when the vehicle is not in motion. We're going to go ahead and plug our remote in on the towing vehicle and make sure it's flat. From there, everything's looking good so far. We're going to go ahead and fire up our towing vehicle and do a light check in addition to a DVIR. Everything seems operational on the towing vehicle. We're going to go ahead and pull that tight and ensure those bars have locked out. You can see that the telescoping arms have locked out and they're fully engaged. Here's our light check and a 360 walk around to double check all of the connections we made and ensure that we're ready for the road. The lights should be working both on the towing vehicle in addition to the toted vehicle. We've got directionals and brake lights. All of our pins are secured. Safety breakaway cable is attached and safety cables are attached as well. When you get to your destination, to disconnect the toting bar, it's important to put the truck back into gear in the transfer case and then return the transmission into park. This ensures the vehicle can't roll when you disconnect the toting bar. From there, we're just going to go in reverse order that we hooked the vehicle up, starting with the electrical connection, moving to the emergency breakaway, and I'll hook that back on the toting vehicle to make sure it doesn't get lost. Go ahead and disconnect our safety cables. And lastly, we'll move to the hitch. To disengage the hitch, we're going to push down on these levers. There's some Velcro on the toting bar that's going to allow that lever to be held down in the unlocked or free position. We'll go ahead and do that on both sides. You can see the hitch is free there, so we'll go ahead and disconnect our block, first starting with that snap safety pin and then removing the actual pin. I like to keep these components installed on the toting bar itself to ensure that we don't lose any pins. Moving over to the driver's side, we'll complete that same process. And then lastly, we'll disconnect our pintle hitch.